concept of bearings. Now, bearings, it deals with the coordinate points or the cardinal points of north, south, east, west, north, east, south, east, and all of those points. Now, when you're doing bearings, you always start at the north point, and then from there you go around to form the angles or the bearings that is given. So in this case, it says the bearings of a point A from a point B is 75 degrees. State the bearings of B from A. And if you notice the bearings here, it's 0.75 because bearings are always written with 3 digits. So even if it's 1 degree, it will be written 001. That's how bearings are written. So generally, you start from the point B. So it says that, so you have a point called A, and you'll also have another point called B. And it says the bearing of, so you can just connect them. So it says the bearing of a point A from a point B is 75 degrees. Say the bearings of B from A. Now, based on the fact that this is written like this, if you wrote your points like this, considering it's saying that from B, it is 75 degrees, and you know that 75 degrees is less than 180. So the B would have to be at the top. So generally, the point that it starts from goes at the top half, and then it goes like this. And then you have the point here, which represents your north pole. So when it says from the point, it means that you have to go around from the north pole to where the lines that connect both points meet. So it means that here is a 75-degree angle. Now it's asking you what is the distance from here, from this point to this point. How can you find that? Simple, you have to put on your north point just the same. North. And then you will have to start from your north point and go straight around to this point. It always starts at the north line, comes around to where the lines meet, or the line that connects both points meet. So it's asking you what is the size of the angle in here. Now with coordinate geometry, it takes in angles. So if you would have done parallel angles or transversal angles, you would have known that angles on a Z plane, they are called alternate interiors, or depending on how they are drawn, you may have corresponding angles, supplementary angles, etc. Now, this point, if you should extend it here, these 2 points, this little part here and here, both must add to 180 degrees because it's supplementary. The fact that this is 75 degrees here, it and this north, they form parallel lines. It means that if this inner part here is 75, it means that this small part outside also needs to be 75 degrees. And as I said before, these 2 parts must add to 180 degrees. So if this is 75 degrees, what can be added to give you 180 degrees? So you can just simply say 180 minus 75, and that will give you 105. So the angle in this part is 105. Now, if you would have been recognizing, once this is extended here, this forms a straight line, and the angle on a straight line always adds to 180 degrees. So from here to here, come straight around here, you would have to cover a 75-degree angle and also a 180-degree angle. So you simply add those. So 5 and 0 is 5, 7 and 8 is 15. So that's 255 degrees that you would have to cover from here over to this line. So the angle from point A to point B is 255 degrees. And you also could have done it another way. The fact that you recognize that here is 105 and once you're forming a circle, if you recognize, if this should continue, it forms a circle. The angle in a circle is 360 degrees. And if here is 105, it's asking you what portion should I have extra out here to give you the 360 degrees. So this would be 5, 5, 2. So it's 255 degrees. So it doesn't matter which way you are, which approach you take to get the answer. As long as the approach that you use is correct, you will get the correct answer. So you can either subtract the portion that you're not required to find from 360 degrees based on how it's created, and you can get the answer. Or you can just take the part that is complementary or supplementary to the angle given and add 180 degrees to it depending on how the question is given. Now to continue, another example, it says over on this side, the bearing of ship S from a yacht Y is 220 degrees. State the bearing of the yacht Y from the ship. So starting from this, so it says the bearing of ship S from a yacht Y. So you know that the Y should be here because it's starting from Y towards the next angle. Now it says, alright, so let me put this Y a little bit over here. Now the fact that it says 220 degrees, 220 degrees, you know that if it should come down here, that's 180 degrees. So you know that the angle has to be going this direction for you to find S, because it passes 180, and passing 180 come around, that's where you can find 220 degrees. So S is here, Y is here. Now it's saying this, the bearing of ship S from Y. So it means that you draw your North Pole, and it's saying from this point to this point, that all measures 220 degrees. So state the bearing of the yacht Y from the ship S. So it's now asking you, what is the angle that should be in that point there? Now, if you were from this point, you can add two angles to get something. So if you should break this, to say you're breaking it going up that way, you know that this part under here would be the 180 degrees. And if all of this is 220 degrees, you know that this part here must be 40. So it's 40 plus 180, that can give you 220. Now, if based on this, if here was supplementary or supplementary to this point, and they are equal, it means that if this part here is 40, it automatically means that this point here must also be 40 degrees for them to be supplementing or complementing each other, to give you the full 180 degrees. So the angle for this is actually 40 degrees. So you just need to learn the rules of transversal lines, basically, and that will help you when you are dealing with bearings. So I'll add another question on that relates to you calculating the distance, that you know how to work it out using the cos and the tan and sine depending on what is required. So this is the question. It says calculate the distance traveled south and the distance traveled east by a ship sailing on a bearing of 150 degrees for 90 kilometers. Now for you to get this, you just simply need to know the coordinate points. So you generally start by saying, so you know that north, south, east, and west. So working it out, it says that the ship is on a bearing of 150 degrees. So as before, you start at your north point and go around until you reach where you assume that your 150 degrees is. So if you have a protractor, you could use it to get the proper 150 degrees. So 150 degrees, so you know that from north to east is 90 degrees. So for you to get the 150, it would have to be between east and south here. So I'll just assume that it's at this point coming downwards. Now it says, so that's our 150 degrees. So you can put your 150 here. So that's 150 degrees. And it says 490 kilometers. So this line is 90 kilometers. So now it is asking you for the distance that is traveled south and the distance traveled east. So going downwards, so this is where your south is. So traveling down south and then you travel eastward. So this is south, so you go southwards and then you go eastward. Now, based on the fact that complementary angles on a straight line adds to 180 degrees, you know that if here is 150, it means that in this little part here, it must be 30 degrees. So you want your value of S here and your value of E there. So once you are dealing with a triangle, for you to find missing angle, missing sides, the way to go is always trigonometry. So using trigonometry, you can find the missing sides that you need. So if you want the value of side S based on this part, this is adjacent side and this is your hypotenuse. So the formula or the trig formula that includes adjacent side and your hypotenuse is the cos formula. So cos is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse, and you can work from there. So let's work it now. So it's going to be cos of the 30 degrees must be equal to the adjacent side, which is S, over the hypotenuse side, which is 90. And then from here you simply cross multiply. So it's 90 multiplied by cos 30 must be equal to what the southward distance is. So that's 90 times cos 30, and that is equal to 77.9 kilometers. So traveling down southward is 77.9 kilometers. And now for you to find the eastward. So this is south. And now for your east. This is the opposite side and this is your hypotenuse. The sine formula. So sine of the angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So you can say sine of 30 degrees is equal to the opposite side, which is E, over your hypotenuse, which is 90 degrees. And you cross multiply, so it's going to be 90 multiplied by sine 30 must be equal to your E. And then you just simply work that on your calculator. So 90 times sine of 30. And that is equal to 45 degrees. And that's the answer. So all you need to do when you are trying to find out, sorry, not degrees, kilometers, because it's distance. Now for you to work it out, once you're trying to find the distance, you just simply need to start with your bearing point, put in your first degree angle that is given, and then draw the line that tells you how long they would have traveled. Generally, most times or sometimes, you are normally given the hypotenuse side, so you just need to decide if you're going to use your cos formula or your sine formula to work with. But in the event you're not given your hypotenuse side and you're given one of the others, you'll know that you will have to be using probably tan rule or another rule to find the side that you're given depending on what you're required. So that's all there is to bearing, and I hope this video would have assisted you. So join me with another time when I explain other mathematical concepts.